There we go. All right, welcome everyone to our November 18th, I started to say October, to our November 18th Office of Police Ombuds Commission meeting. And I'm going to do some introductions before we get started. I'm going to start with our commissioners. To my left, we have Commissioner Jasmine. And next to Commissioner Jasmine, we have Commissioner McCollum. And then we have Commissioner Wetzel. We are down one commissioner, but we hope to have that person in place in January.
Yes, that is the update.
Okay, that's the update on that. And then to my further left, we have our ombuds, Mr. Bart Logue. And next to Mr. Bart Logue, we have our deputy ombuds, and that is Lissa. Help me out. Mascio. I just went brain dead for a minute. To my right, we have our legal, Mr. Boone, I'm just going to call him. And then we have our administrative assistant, and that would be Christina. So welcome, everybody, and we're going to get started. If I could have the commissioners look at the agenda and the September minutes. We did not have a meeting in October, so there are no October minutes. Look that over, and I will welcome a motion.
I move to approve the agenda and the minutes from the last meeting on, what was it?
September
16th, 2025.
And I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a consent motion here. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Well, it's a unanimous, so I'm not even going to ask for the no votes. So that has passed. And right now, we're going to look at the public forum. Ms. Christina?
There is no one signed up to speak.
Okay. If you are watching this at a later date, please come join us at our meetings. We'd love to have you, and we'd love for you to speak out and share your thoughts with us.
Third Tuesday of the month, right?
Third Tuesday of every month, unless we have a special meeting, and those are always posted on our website. So please come and join us. Now, we're going to go right into the OPO reports, and we'll start with closing report F25-006.
Is Masio Italian?
It sure is. It's Neapolitan, in fact.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I had the other reports.
You need a copy?
Okay, so the F25-006 closing report. This case came to our attention while Lissa attended a use of force review board. It is a police response to a complaint of a domestic violence no contact order. One officer responded and gathered the information necessary for them to believe that there was probable cause to make an arrest in this case. And then the community member that they were focused on was believed to be at their place of work, and it was also believed that they had access to firearms. And one of the previous incidents involving this case actually involved an allegation of a shot being fired into the protected person's home. So there's some significance to that. 3 officers actually responded to the place of work, and 2 of the officers made initial contact with the community member in the parking lot while the original officer had gone into the place of work. When they approached, the person had their hands in their pockets, but they were acknowledging the officer's questions. So the officer was aware that they had the correct person. The person acknowledged who they were. Officer reports state that they asked the individual to take their hands out of their pockets, and then there was a bit of a refusal there, and then officers moved in for arm control on the subject. As they grab the arms, there's a little bit of a flinch, and then it's on snow and ice. They all end up on the ground. It was snowy. Again, all parties ended up on the ground, either slipping or with a takedown. Handcuffs were then applied, and the person was told that they were under arrest. I won't go into all the details, as there's 35 pages of stuff in this closing report, and we did include all of the different officers' perspectives. But one officer said that there was no takedown, and another officer clearly said that they were applying a takedown technique. So there was some confusion, at least amongst themselves, but an officer only writes the reports from their perspective that happens at the time. It became a use of force review because the person complained of injury to their wrist due to their handcuffs. However, there are some details previous to that where they're complained about pain to their bicep, a dislocation, that sort of thing, during that pile as they were pulling the arms around to get them handcuffed. The complainant makes the point that officers wouldn't like being grabbed like that. There is some back and forth between the officers. The person's taken to jail where handcuffs are adjusted at least one time, but they're taken to jail, and the jail actually noticed significant swelling to the wrist area. So the jail does an initial refusal. They go to the hospital for x-rays, and we don't need to go into the person's medical history. It becomes a use of force review because of the complaint of injury. Normally, in a takedown or risk compliance sort of thing, it is a use of force, but it doesn't necessarily go through the review board process. But because there was a complaint of injury, supervisors had to do a little bit more work in regards to this. So some of the supervisory comments that are important, they said that the community member stated that they were being cooperative, and some of that is indicative on body-worn camera. You could see that. Officers gave clear commands and no force was used outside of prone cuffing. And then officers requested or readjusted the cuffs due to complaints of the pain. A next supervisor, though, talked about de-escalation. And he said that officers asked the community members to take their hands out of their pockets. So asking and giving a chance to comply, I would agree that that could be part of de-escalation. However, they did not advise the community member that they were under arrest or detained prior to moving in. So the pace of the contact actually was pretty fast. The supervisor stated that the community member could have been given an advisement and an opportunity to comply. And we've made a variety of recommendations along the way in regards to giving the person an opportunity to comply. Then on page 20 of our report, you can find this comment. It states that officers should be reminded to utilize communication and de-escalation techniques when making an arrest such as this. I would say when making any arrest, communication, de-escalation techniques, even if not making an arrest, it's a best practice. So the next supervisor, there were some abnormalities, right? Which is part of the reason it came to our attention. So the next supervisor sent the reports back. So this is sometime in June. This incident happened in February. The reports were sent back, and they were asked for Graham statements to be added to their police reports. And what a Graham statement is the officer's assessment of the incident and why they believe that force was necessary. And it comes from a case called Graham versus Connor, which is a Supreme Court case which governs use of force. So there is kind of a template that they use, and there's a variety of examples. We've included 3 of them in this closing report so you can actually see what a Graham statement looks like. But this was done in June. Normally, when we're talking about force, we are only interested in what the officer knew or believed at the time. 4 months and a lot of other information, a lot of supervisory reviews that can kind of taint some of that material. So it's not ideal to have things added in so long after the fact, after supervisors have been given additional guidance. The Graham statements themselves, though, did not change supervisory opinions regarding the use of force. We're not allowed to say final outcomes, but most supervisors recommended use of force in compliance or in compliance with policy for the use of force. However, a supervisor recommended in policy but stated it is better to advise someone they are under arrest and use verbal de-escalation prior to taking armed control. So he recommended a shift level discussion, which is not a sanction, which is why I'm allowed to say that. And this discussion was accomplished and documented. The problem comes down to when it comes to a review board and we're saying things are in policy, but then there's some oddities which really doesn't, why are we taking actions if things are in policy? So that was kind of the questions that we talked with the chiefs and assistant chief about, and a lot of it was discussed on the review board as well. So I wasn't at this one, but Lissa did some really good questions, and she brought up the term that you can find written in the police reports, guided to the ground. What exactly does that mean? We've used this one before, if you remember in a previous closing report. That can mean a lot of things, and it really doesn't tell you anything. So it can be disingenuous to actually what occurred. So that's where the plain language recommendation comes from. We recommend that you stop using canned language and give me your perception of what occurred from your perception. An officer should be able to do that in their police reports. So not only in their police reports, but supervisors should also review these things with their perceptions of what occurred using plain language as well. Because if we can all use guided to the ground, what does it really mean? And are we going to get to any improvement? So discussion about the pace of the incident. Some would say it's a potential gun call. So there is a need to kind of move fast and furious, but the way the approach happened inside of the parking lot with some compliant behavior from the subject was indicative that there was a chance to potentially give commands and watch for compliance to those commands. So the review board stated that there was almost a complete lack of communication advisements, warnings, or de-escalation used prior to going hands-on. And I think that's interesting, right? Because that is an arrest technique and tactic, right? To kind of gain control over the person before they really understand what's happening and for officer safety. It was widely used over the last number of years. But I kind of think when you come up and you grab my arm, and I don't know you're going to grab my arm, that's going to elicit a response from me of some sort, probably a jerking motion, which is not actually necessarily resistance, but it sure can be interpreted by the other person as that. So the points about communication, advisements, warnings, and de-escalation, those were key tenets that were emphasized in the ICAT training, which we went through, and actually the chief is really trying to turn his focus towards on with the department. So all those tenets of ICAT are in the report, which it's somewhere. I thought I had the page number down there for you. It looks like page 31 and 32, so you can kind of look at what the basic things that we're looking for. But because they're not yet in policy, that's where another one of our recommendations comes in, is to put these things in policy, and then we can start to hold that as the standard. So the other action is, the other recommendation that we'll talk about was that every reviewable force, so any time that you're bringing a use of force to our attention, we believe that it goes hand in hand with the de-escalation policy. So in this case, there were no issues with use of force, but there were quite a few comments made about de-escalation, but there's only a finding in regards to the use of force policy. So our first recommendation is that anytime there's a use of force, we should also be evaluating the de-escalation policy, and it's in line with state law as well. I tried to be fast for you. Any questions on this report?
I just have one. I saw that specific phrase, guided to the ground. We've, as you noted, we've seen that before. And I believe I read that that actually came from training, a training manual. Is that correct?
I don't know specifically where that came from. That's a good question. But it definitely has become a standard phrase in practice over the years. Where it originated from, I would have to do some research on that.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but if we could speak directly into the mic so that everybody can hear, that'd be great. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out. That's, I think, a weakness in the report writing.
Yes, sir.
During that use of force review board, though, some of the training officers did mention that last spring, they had specifically been training around using sort of canned language. So I don't know exactly what that training looked like, but they did say they've been addressing that in training.
Yeah, I think that's good. Good to hear that they're addressing that, because we have heard that exact phrase used for very violent in nature takedowns. So guided to the ground can mean a lot of things. And I appreciate your thoughts on this. I saw the video, and when I watched it, it seemed very fast. And I am not one to judge, because, these officers thought that this person might be armed. But it did feel like there was not a communication of what the officers were doing there in the first place that might have become a conversation rather than a struggle, And so giving a chance for de-escalation gives a chance for conversation and not a struggle, which would seem to me to keep not only the citizens safer, but the officers safer. So that's my thoughts on it. But I appreciated that the use of force board was thoughtful about all of this, and it seems like the department has really been taking some of our recommendations to heart, you know, about language and about de-escalation. So that's a good thing to see.
Any other questions for the closing report? Okay. Oh, go
Just-
ahead.
Well, just kind of looking through this, it seems a lot more robust. Is that true? Or is that just me?
The closing report itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of nuances in the officer reporting, and if you look deep into it, you know, the report should match what we see, or at least be pretty close. But it doesn't have to match exactly right, because an officer can be writing the reports from their memory. It doesn't have to be exactly as what we could see. But there are 3 different perspectives there. In this report, there were we included a lot more of the reporting language than we normally do.
Yeah.
From the actual reports, I think.
No, I mean, it just seems very comprehensive. So, yeah, kudos to you all for putting this together. And then, I know these are recommendations. What was the response? Has there been a response?
So it's not officially sent yet, but in our pre-meetings with Chief Hall, he did ask me a couple of techniques about going to, and we're considering a couple of options, but I don't want to speak for him out of turn. I want to give him a chance to speak first. I think that he will be, he'll accept all of these recommendations, is my expectation.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And now the September and October monthly reports.
Okay, I have a different stack of papers for that. Okay, it's been a busy couple of months, you know, intertwined in all of these stats. I attended 2 police decertification panels. I took a few days of vacation. And we also had back-to-back community events that were out of town. So it's been a busy couple of months. So contacts, 292 in September, 633 in October. The 633 is a little bit ballooned up because we did include contacts which we had during those conferences, and almost everything is an oversight contact during those conferences. And I'd be curious to also hear or even include the commissioner's contacts, because we had the full commission at the NACOL conference, and you were out and about and working all the time. I actually saw a picture of Commissioner Rose published on one of the NACOL posts. So there it is. Opioid interviews, we had 17 in September, 10 in October. Again, that's mostly Christina's work. Accommodations, we did have accommodation come in for the police department. Always like it when accommodations come through our office. And this one in particular was because a community member was grateful for SPD's partnership with the behavioral health unit, and they liked it, how it had affected them personally. Complaints, 6 in September, 3 in October, 45 for the year. We're up to 49 now. In 2024, we had 44 full complaints, 3 referrals in September, 1 in October. So we have a little bit less referrals here, but referrals, again, are often those things that come in that are not appropriate for the Spokane Police Department. So casework. Got a little bit of stories to tell you in regards to casework this time around. So We certified 3 cases in September, 10 in October, but those just happen when they come in. And if you'll remember back to August, we certified 17 cases. So it was a real kind of robust August, a lighter September in regards to casework, and then it's come back up to about the average in October. Lissa returned a case for further investigation, which she'll talk about in a minute, and I also returned a case for further investigation. And mine was in regards to a case where a firearm was pulled out of a holster during a traffic control scenario. I believe that there needed to be quite a bit more documentation in regards to that incident, including interviews, so that case was not something that we could work through in the 10 days that we have, and that case is still pending. We did decline to certify 3 cases, but for odd reasons. So if you will tolerate this, I just want to read the response that we put in the case file for all 3 cases. So per discussion with Director McConnell, this case was determined to be more appropriate for a labor management / grievance process after SPD consulted with city legal. It is my opinion that strict adherence to SPD policy 1020 should be maintained when a complaint is made. While the memo for the record states that certification is not required because there is no investigation, these complaints were entered in good faith following the established procedures of both Policy 1020 and the collective bargaining agreement with the Police Guild. I strongly recommend that you follow established policies, and if this is something that City Legal and SPD agrees upon, I recommend that it be formally established by memo informing the employees until it is placed into policy. While I will accept the summary informing me that no certification is required, I would also note that I would not have certified the investigation had it been forwarded to me as is. A critical element in the investigation is contact with the complainant to ensure that there is a full understanding of what that concern is. I would encourage SPD to conduct that step quickly, which would then allow rigor to be applied to the investigative process and classification. These steps were not established in the case file. Further investigation would have been necessary to come to a timely, thorough, and objective certification, and I would encourage you to apply that rigor through the labor management / grievance process that is recommended in your choosing. All that being said, we have had a case historically which also followed an untraditional route, and that was case number C21-083. In that case, the matter was transferred to another investigative process in 2022, which was human resources. Deviation from established procedures should be rare and memorialized. As such, I would encourage you to attach the sentiments of City Legal to the case for the record. I would also recommend attaching a memo to this case once the matter has been worked through in labor management for transparency, if that is allowed by the labor management grievance process. As there is not a category of inquiry closed or administratively suspended that captures this process, I cannot certify this investigation. So these were cases brought to us by the Police Guild, which makes it even more important for us to be responding to them appropriately, but also in a manner in which is clearly established by policy. It's not, well, I wrote a lot of words in that certification process, which I just read to you, and I get very uncomfortable when new processes are made up in the middle of a case. There was an additional complaint that was sent to our office by the Police Guild, and this is just me informing you, but it did not have any details in the complaint. It was regarding an internal affairs interview, which I was participating in, and the complaint came along with the, well, you were there, you know what happened. I don't write complaints for people. I need people to tell me what their complaint is. So we reached out by phone, by email to numerous email addresses to ask what the actual concern was. Additionally, I had a brief meeting in person with the Spokane Guild Vice President and said, I need something to come from you all to us in order to process that. To date, nothing has occurred, so that complaint has not been entered into the system. So just publicly, that's the reasons why I do not have the specific concern written by the complaining party. As such, we can't enter the complaint.
So, really quick, and this is speculatory, but are there potential reasons why that might be? Is there?
So the last 3 complaints were involving the police guild. This one was involving the police guild. And there are 2 other complaints that have been filed through the OPO that were sent to IA and that have also been transferred to human resources that also involve the police guild. I know that there are legal processes happening, which I'm not privy to. I just know that they're happening. So there is something that SPD has to work through with their police guild.
Which they could send them, but just stay anonymous, correct? Is this, you know what I'm saying? Like, are they not sending things because they don't want it in writing and their name on there? Are they trying to stay anonymous?
No, this was it was a very specific thing. And I just know that there's a lot of angst going on, and whether or not folks choose to follow through with the complaint happens often, right?
Okay.
That's once you have
Yeah.
the interview with the complainant, sometimes they choose, I don't really want to go through with this process. I don't think it's an anonymity concern at all. I just think that I can't write their words for them and say what the complaint is.
Right, yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
I don't understand why, so the guild as an organization put in these complaints, or a member of the guild put in these complaints? Because I'm a little confused if it was an HR issue or if it was an actual, I mean, it's not a use of force, is it?
No.
So this
No,
is like,
this is all internal dynamics.
so why are they using the Office of the Police Ombudsman for internal HR issues? I'm just, I mean, not that they can't. Anyone can use our office. But I'm just curious why you think they would.
I don't want to speak for them, but I do think it does show some trust in our office that we're going to document things appropriately, and we're going to make sure that it's entered, and that it is one more level that ensures that something won't just be shoved aside.
Okay.
Yeah, how often do complaints come from the police guild?
Not often, but in this last several months, we've had a variety of things going on internally that have brought several to us.
I mean, this is yeah, I would have, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if a complaint's entered and filed, it's all about due process at that point in time.
Right.
And when we start to deviate from practices, just because a complaint is made doesn't mean the action actually occurred. And due process is important for both the complainant and the person being complained upon. It's just critical. So anytime we start to wiggle into different things that are not part of the standard, I think that's really problematic, which is why we did that robust kind of statement there. The 2 that have been transferred to HR, they were OPO complaints. Their transfer to HR is also not part of an established process. So there may be some declines after that, but it's just because there is not something in policy that establishes their ability to do that. So I'm encouraging them, and they're well aware, particularly with the 3 declines to certify, that they need to put something in policy to capture these kind of things.
What do you mean they were OPO complaints?
They were sent to the OPO.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah. So we actually put them into the system. They weren't internal complaints that were sent to us. We put them into the system and sent them to them.
That makes sense. So, you know, that one, I guess, email that you got that said you were there, it just kind of raises curiosity for me. Like, what happens if you yourself have a complaint? what is
About the
that?
process?
Well, about whatever that individual is referring to.
So we did establish in, I want to say the last collective bargaining agreement, that we do have the right to file a complaint from the OPO.
Okay. But I'm assuming it just didn't reach the level for you to be concerned enough to make a, okay,
Interpersonal dynamics
yeah,
between people, and I was not a participant in that.
okay. Appreciate that.
Yeah. I think we would really get sideways fast if we started to make up what the community members' concerns were, or whoever the complaining party's concerns
Yeah,
were.
100. I was just curious if you yourself were concerned, yeah, but it doesn't sound like, no.
No,
Got
sir.
it. Yep.
It doesn't mean that there was not abnormalities.
Yeah, yeah, just not to the level of which you would, yeah.
But this entire section I just read was full of abnormalities, and we don't file a complaint on each one of those. We just want to try to establish a policy because the employee needs to understand the system that they're working in as well. And I'm pretty big into due process right now.
So can I ask one more question? Did our office interview these guild, interview the guild? There's 3 cases, so did they do 3 interviews?
Christina?
Yes, so we treat all complaints when they come in the same way. So I did reach out to the reporting party and did have communication with them, not only for those 3, but the 2 that were sent to HR as well.
Okay.
We treat them all the same.
But it's
So
my
the complaining party and the other party?
So when a complaint comes to us, I only talk to the complainant.
Complainant,
That's
okay.
the only involvement that I have. Once it goes into investigation, that's where internal affairs and Lissa and Bart will do they'll be able to ask questions.
So then you 2 were there, or one of you was there when the complaint arrived, is what you were saying? When the complaint from the OPO arrived at IA, were you there? Is that the meeting you were talking about being there?
No, ma'am. It was an interview.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it is a confusing situation. I'm not used to the guild making a complaint, and then I don't know where that goes. It goes to IA, right?
Anything that goes through our office goes to
Goes to
IA.
IA.
That's the only place. So even though we do recorded interviews and we make sure that we try to capture the complainant's concerns, Christina is not a trained IA investigator.
No, I guess my
so
question
that should
is-
not be the standard.
Yeah, no, I guess my question is just that when it goes to IA, then IA conducts an investigation.
Yes. And our expectation is that includes an IA interview of the complainant to make sure they fully understand the concerns.
And they didn't have that, or they did?
They did not.
So you declined to certify?
Correct.
Okay, I see now. Thank you.
I mean, I think it's fantastic that the police guild is, utilizing the ombuds, so hopefully that helps out with the contract.
Yeah, special cases, 21 in September, 6 in October, review boards 3 in September and 2 in October, and Lissa will talk about those in a little bit. Items of note for me, for these last 2 months, we did go through a hiring process for a project employee. We did extend an offer, which was initially accepted. Unfortunately, we just learned recently that the person had to withdraw due to personal reasons of a good kind. The project employees have limited benefits, and that was a big factor in that decision. So right now, after consultation with Commissioner Jasmine and Commissioner Rose, we're kind of in a holding pattern in regards to trying to push through on this thing. Because this project employee was only pushed into existence so that civil service could create the full-time, no kidding, category of a person so that they could be hired full-time. In that process, we initially had our first conversations with civil service more than a year ago, or right around a year ago. It's our hope that the permanent position, which would then include all the benefits, et cetera, will be available soon. And I don't want to lose a very, very qualified person because of benefits issues. So that's kind of where that is. So we have not moved forward with a new list at this time, and we're just starting to begin to reach out to civil service for a timeline of when the position will be finalized. And I'll just keep you in the loop as we go. We've had several meetings in regards to the MOU, which will finalize the path forward for the protest review. We were able to meet with the mayor yesterday in regards to that process. And we just wanted to kind of make sure that as the MOU is taking shape, there seems to be some minor adjustments or maybe even some major adjustments depending on your perspective in regards to how the review will be conducted. So the mayor is fully aware. She fully supports us in whatever capacity we can conduct this review. And she clearly recognized that we are working within restrictions that are legal and things that we will need to follow moving forward. However, I do think that we are closer to at least the first round of the MOUs being approved by the parties. So the first MOU is done with the Police Guild. The second MOU will be done with the Lieutenants and Captains Association. Because there are some command and control aspects that they want us to look into. Normally, the Lieutenants and Captains Association just kind of, I'm not saying they don't do their due diligence, because they probably certainly do. They usually fall in line with what the Police Guild bargains with the city. In this case, it might be a little bit more, so there will be a phase 2 to this MOU thing, but hopefully we'll get that done soon. That being said, I'll just let you know that the complaints regarding the June 11th protests have hit our office. Monday, I think, yesterday? Yes, yesterday. So we've had several, during this last couple of months, had several meetings with Chief Hall regarding a panel that we were both on together at NACOL. That title was Strengthening Oversight Through Collaboration, Insights from Spokane and Boulder. We had originally put that in to be an individual panel, but NACOL combined it with Boulder, Colorado, so we were able to work through all those processes to get that panel put together. It was standing room only at the conference. It was very well attended, several hundred people, I would estimate. I was also on another panel at NACOL entitled The Use of Force Principles, 23 Elements to Ensuring an Effective Police or an Effective Policy. And my specific topic that I spoke on was focused on duty to intervene. That was probably the most robustly attended panel I've ever been on. So that was good. I ran for re-election to the NACOL Board of Directors. There were 8 candidates for 3 spots, and I was honored to be re-elected for another 3-year term. Again, we attended the IACP conference, the USOA conference, which is United States Ombudsman Association conference, and the NACOL conference. Had the opportunity to take vacation for a week. And here in Spokane, we attended the People Who Care luncheon, and I went to another gala, but I think Lissa will talk about that. And we also celebrated Commissioner Ladsmith's service to our community. So that's my report. Lissa has some highlights of her months that she would like to report as well.
Thought I'd mix it up a little bit and actually talk at one of these. So I'll tell you what I did in September, October. I'm glad Bart covered all the nitty-gritty numbers there. In September, I attended online the Dago Law Group IA investigation course, which is sort of the nuts and bolts investigation. I was joined there by a sergeant from SPD who will be hopefully joining that team. I got to do my first mock scenes at Belia, which Christina also participates in routinely, but I hadn't done those before, so that was a good time. And then I got to attend that class's graduation, Belia Class 918. I was able to attend that graduation. I had not been to one yet. I did return a case in September for concerns with thoroughness and potentially about objectivity. Some of it was just sort of a timing. I was not able to connect with the investigator before our 10 days ran, and I was not comfortable with where it was at. It was a complaint really around harassment and sort of a pattern of contacts. But when I received the report, it had really only addressed 1 out of 4 contacts, so I did ask that the file, further investigation be done to, if you're talking about of harassment, you need to look at more than 1 incident. So there was also just some wording in there that didn't feel very objective, and there was also a number of officers involved because obviously it was 4 different incidents involving different officers. So we talked about including all of the officers and then making the findings sort of specific because there was 1 in particular officer that maybe shouldn't have the same finding as the other officers. So that was returned in, I think, mid-September, September 11th, and then I eventually did certify it, though, on September 30th after working more on that case. Also in September, some of you may have seen the office space moved around a little bit in our area, anticipating another employee was coming. We needed to rearrange. The other employee's not coming, but now I have a window seat, so it all worked out for me. So I also was able to attend in-service training in September with command staff, the use of force and tools session. I know some of you also attended it at other times, so I got to learn how to use the TASER 10, which is rolling out right now, including the VR goggles, which I had not done before. September, I was also able to do a presentation with Commissioner Rose to the Community Assembly Neighborhood Safety Committee at the Hive. So I had not been able to partner with the commission yet to be able to do a community outreach event, so that was really gratifying to do. And we did let the Community Assembly know that if they want us to be going to neighborhood council meetings, we'd be open to that as well. In October, I had the opportunity to attend my first officer-involved shooting IA interviews and then was able to go to the administrative review panel discussion this month on a couple, and so I'll be looking forward to going to the Deadly Force Review Board on a couple of these officer-involved shootings. One of them involved 9 different officers, so it was a lot of different interviews and was really interesting to get to read their statements and participate in the interviews. I also had the opportunity in October to attend a week-long police dialogue training, which was hosted by Spokane Police Department at Gonzaga, and it was put on by the Columbus Police Department. It involves normally protests, but also a lot of the similar ideas from the ICAT training. So that was really interesting to hear. We also did some case studies, including the ICE protest and the No Kings protest. So able to talk to some of the actual TAC officers that were on scene that day. The gala that Bart referred to was the Revive Center for Returning Citizens, which is a nonprofit that works with folks that are getting out of prison and rehabilitating into the community. It was really inspiring gala and nonprofit that I had not heard about. We did attend 3 back-to-back-to-back conferences. I am on the USOA Conference Planning Committee, so I've been really involved in planning that conference, which was in Vail. I also was able to attend the new ombuds training at their pre-conference and then attend their conference. I presented on a panel called Climbing Your Mountain, Navigating Challenging Logistics Across Ombuds Models at the USOA Conference. That's all for me.
Any questions?
I had one question about web cases reviewed. That was 0 year-to-date as of October or September, and then in October there were 4. What is a web case review?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's a new process. So as a case gets completed, there's a small web summary of the case, which will be posted on SPD's website. Traditionally, those haven't been sent to us for a long time, but we had a conversation because it is actually part of the collective bargaining agreement that we are allowed to provide comment on those web summaries. So and I would say it's happening about 50% of the time right now. So as they complete a case, we're going to have the web summary be put right inside of the case because we're very, very familiar with the topic matter right then. It makes it very simple to review whether or not we agree with that web summary or not. So it's now being included in the case file. It's still not 100%, but we're working on that process. It's still pretty new, but you should see that number start to kind of stay in line with at least the cases that are certified.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Actually, I did have one more,
Okay.
just about the MOU. What's the timing on this that we're looking at? I mean, you said soon, but we've heard soon a few times now, and I'm sorry to call you out on this, but it's not calling you out. It's calling everyone out, apparently, because it's not just you that's signing the MOU. But, yeah, we're getting farther and farther away from June 11th, and that was our most attended and most spoken about issue from the community. And so I just feel like soon, when is soon, would be a good thing to know.
If I had that answer, I would give that to you. All I can say is that we have, at least in the last 2 weeks, we've talked about it twice. We had a big meeting which didn't actually go very well from my perspective. And yeah, we were far apart, and we're less far apart. But the thing is, when it comes down to this MOU, for me, when I'm looking at having to do this this protest response and report, right now, everything I can write is dictated by the collective bargaining agreement put in place between the city and the Spokane Police Guild. So if you look at our reports, and on page 7, this will always be my biggest concern when I'm being asked to review something. And it's letter U inside of the Spokane Police Guild contract. And it says, a report shall not comment on discipline of an officer. This prohibition includes a prohibition in writing, on writing in a report, whether the OPO or OPOC agrees with or differs from the chief's findings, whether the officer acted properly, whether the officer's actions were acceptable, or whether the officer's actions were in compliance with training or policy. Additionally, no report will criticize an officer or witness or include a statement on the OPO or OPOC's opinion on the veracity or credibility of an officer or witness. That's an awful lot of restrictions when it comes down to doing an independent review of a thing. We're not going to get past that in this review. So we're going to have to deal with those parameters, and we're going to have to figure out a way to tell the best story, the most impactful story possible in regards to this. We're just not going to get past that. So it's part of the parameters that's, the CBA is our law. It is part of law, and it governs what we can do. And unless there is a specific agreement between the city and the police guild to give us a pass on that section, we have to abide by that. So my push was to try to get that put specifically in writing that we could do all those things. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to be able to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish with this review. There's nuances, but the controlling factor really is city legal. They're the ones that are trying to do all the negotiations between the parties and at least take input. We're all meeting simultaneously. So the last meeting included this city legal, it included us, it included the police guild, it included the police chief, and it included the deputy city administrator. So all the parties that would care about what goes in that document were in the room. So that's new as of a couple of months ago. All I could say is we're getting closer, and I'm seeing the movement. It's moving faster than it was before. I know that's not an answer to when, but that's all I have.
I knew you didn't have an exact date or anything, so I don't want you to think, I'm sorry to put that pressure on you, but no, I was just, the time that it's taken and the fact that the meeting didn't go well is troubling. And it seems like what the mayor and the chief asked for, they're not going to get.
Well, they won't get exactly what they asked for, but that's exactly why we were asked to come up and have a meeting with the mayor yesterday, where we're clear with each other. I don't want to disappoint anyone in regards to a request, which is really outside of the scope of our authority to do. I think by conducting this review, we will elevate our usefulness to the city significantly. So I don't want to disappoint in regards to that. And that was really kind of where my sticking point was. The mayor asked for this. If we give her that, how's that going to land? So we kind of level set yesterday. It was a very, very good meeting with the mayor yesterday. She's well aware of the restrictions. I think the key that the mayor's focused on, and we're focused on, is we want to get this thing done.
Good. Yeah. I think that's what the community would appreciate as well. Personally, I think that's what the community wants too. There's obviously an interest in it. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for the work you've done on it. I know it's been a challenge in addition to all your other duties, so.
I know we have a lot to go over during this meeting, but I just wanted to ask, what does the OPO attorney do?
OPO, it's not OPOC.
No, not. I know what you do, but when I was looking through, the closing report, I thought it was a typo for a second, so I showed Commissioner Rose, like, hey, this doesn't say Brendan's name on there. It says Tim Zamblin, and I have no issues with Tim Zamblin, but if the OPO has an attorney, wouldn't they be dealing with OPO-related issues? And we don't have to answer that. That one would assume that's what it is, right?
I'd be happy to answer it. It's tough. We don't get the answers we want from city legal. And I can say that because I'm a volunteer. I'm not working in the OPO office. But to be honest, basically it's when legality questions are asked, like if there's an issue that comes up and particular issue lately, are you going to represent a member of our OPO office? And I hear, nope, that's not our job. That's basically, I think, in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's just interesting.
And I'm not trying to be rude or anything. I'm just trying to be factual about it.
No, yeah.
I would also say the kind of the problem when it comes to, let's just say this MOU.
Yeah.
Our attorney's part of the city attorney's office who represents the city.
Yeah.
So our voice is not heard as loudly as we would want it to be.
Does
because
that-
they're all part of the same. In this case, for this closing report, so this line on page 5, that it was reviewed by the city attorney's office as to form, I specifically put this into these closing reports because of the 4 or 5 pages of dastardly things that the police guild can do to us if we are deemed to have violated the police guild contract. So I wanted the city attorney's office to agree that we were in compliance with the collective bargaining agreement as kind of a safeguard. Normally, they don't give specific, we approve of the report, or they just wanted to say they approve of it to form. And this time, I got an email that actually said that they approve of the report. I'll also say that this is the first report that went through the police guild without them having a single question about the report. They said the report is good, no meeting needed.
Ooh.
That's great. That's really good.
So really, and I apologize because I know we got a boogie, but does a portion of our budget go to the OPO attorney?
No, sir.
Okay.
But that's a good question that you brought up. We were given a significant increase in budget, and then we were also given a significant increase in costs for being part of the city.
Yeah,
So-
that makes sense.
That's something we can discuss later, but I don't have all the details here. But some of it is a shell game, I think.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions before we move on? Okay, then we'll move on. OPOC business. On page 35 of the closing report, we have the 3 recommendations, 2511, 2512, and 2513, that we need to,
I've put them on.
Oh,
the-
thank you. They're up there on the
Big
screen.
screen so
Thank
that you
you.
can review.
Yeah, I move that we accept all 3 recommendations.
okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So the vote is unanimous that all 3 recommendations go forward. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. It's that time of year where we need to vote for the OPOC chair. Currently, I'm the chair for 2025, and then starting in January to the end of December of 2026, we right now are going to talk about a new chair and a new vice chair for that year, as per our ordinance language. So, do I have any motions on the floor? Or nominations, I would say.
I nominate Luke to continue as chair.
Okay. So we have Luke. Do you accept that, Commissioner Jasmine?
Yeah, I knew this was going to happen. I am the middle child, aren't I? So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for faith in me, and yeah, absolutely, I accept.
Okay. How about vice chair? And I just want to point out that my terms will be over in September of 2026. So that's why I'm not seeking reelection as chair. So we need a motion. I will make a motion for vice chair. I think it would be a good time for Amy, Commissioner Amy, to step up as vice chair if she feels comfortable.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, you were Dutch.
Yeah, I mean, I was, yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
I mean, I was personally thinking Dutch, but I am happy to do it if that's what you all agree
I would be
on.
happy with either of you.
I would nominate you if Commissioner Rose hadn't.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
And just so you know, Commissioner, that some of us stepped right into this like a year out or 2 years out, so you're good to go.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
So on the floor, we have nomination of Commissioner Jasmine as chair and Commissioner McCollum as vice chair, is my understanding. So we will do a consent vote on this. So all in favor, say aye.
Oh,
Aye.
do
Aye.
we need to second that or not?
Oh, we do need a second on your
Second.
nomination.
I second.
Okay. All right. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Can I vote for
Yes.
myself?
Yes.
I just did.
I don't want to, because that means you're gonna go, you know?
Well, I'm not nominated, so
She's going no matter what. She terms out.
Yeah, I
Sad.
don't
I
like
term
it.
out.
I don't like
So
it.
sad.
Yeah, no, yeah. I will, I don't have any issues with the slate.
okay. So is that an aye or a nay?
It is an aye, yeah.
Okay. So it's unanimous. We now have our chair and vice chair for next year. Thank you. Thank you for stepping up.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, our next item of business is the NACO annual conference briefing. So we thought just spend a few minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, commissioners, going around and sharing about the conference. We had all in attendance, so that was good. And it's always interesting and a good place to see how other cities are doing with their police oversight. So would anybody like to begin?
Well, I mean, I'll jump in really quick. First, I want to say I am sad. I'm sad, glad Commissioner Smith, wasn't with us. That just, it felt so weird. And then, think about you heading off. I know both of you are like, look, we did our time. But
Only 11 years next September.
yeah, but as the middle child, it was bittersweet not having Lad there, but it was really cool just to be able to develop a deeper relationship. I mean, I know Amy pretty well, but just to develop a deeper relationship with the both of you as new commissioners, and one of the things that I look at is, we're a team, right? And whenever you have a team, you want to see like how team members are going to respond, and just to see how engaged both of you were, and I would come into a room and Dutch, I would already see you up front,
Because I'm half deaf.
but it just, it was just a great experience, just being able to be with all of you. And every year that I go to NACO, I just become more proud of the office that we have here, the commissioners that we have serving. By far, the segment that I know you did 2, right? 2 segments. The one, Mr. Logue, you did with Chief Hall. I mean, folks were engaged. In other segments, some people, got up and left and came in, but everybody was, when you guys came up, everybody was glued. And it's just cool. And I had so many people come up to me and just say, yeah, Spokane's doing it right. Yeah, you're so lucky. And I just told them, yeah, you're right. So yeah, I think those are my thoughts. It was great to see the new commissioners, really delve into the work, and it's awesome to see that there's so much respect for our ombuds and our ombuds office and the work that they're doing, not only here, but just in our nation.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed this conference a lot. This was my second, and it was a really great opportunity to spend time with the whole commission, which we don't ever really have a chance to do. And, I felt like I learned a lot from this one and came away with ideas for how to get more information into our hands from other jurisdictions and from other organizations that, learning a lot about the surveillance equipment that's being used right now. And I think that, technology is way above my head. So getting some people in from different foundations that actually know a lot about this stuff might be a really good thing going forward, because there are civil rights concerns when it comes to surveillance technology without warrants. And so, I found that information to be really pertinent, really timely. Every time I go, I learn new stuff. So like both times I went, the first time I learned all new stuff. And this time I will have to second Luke's comments about your presentation with Chief Hall, because, I think a lot of other jurisdictions left that meeting a little jealous of Spokane and a little jealous of the ability for our ombuds to work hand in hand with the chief on issues that improve the department, and to look at it as a relationship that can only work to better the police department. And so it was really inspiring, I think, not only just to us who know you guys and how you work together, but it was really delightful to see other people in the room from other jurisdictions that maybe don't have that learn how it is possible. Give them some hope that it is possible to have a really functional citizen oversight that, and I enjoyed, getting to have Chief Hall there. It was really nice to be able to, speak to him on a more casual level. So it was, overall, yeah, I had a great time, got lots of ideas. I'll probably bring some of them up at some point, so be ready.
Thank you. So the conference that is being discussed is the national conference in Minneapolis of the National Association of Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement. There were, what'd you guess, 1,500 people there from all over the country in different civilian oversight offices. It became apparent that most of these jurisdictions initiated civilian oversight as a result of a tragedy that could have been prevented, and which is what happened here. And the thing that I think maybe needs to be communicated to the community is that the trauma from those events is real, and it is raw, and however old it is still real and raw. And in several places in the country, that scab keeps getting torn off regularly. And so the importance of what we do cannot be overstated. And I would echo what the other commissioners said about how lucky we are and the high regard that our office has from agencies throughout the nation. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for clarifying what NACO stands for. And I was just going to mention that we arrived, a few of us arrived on Sunday, and we went to an all-day board and commission forum. I think we were lucky enough, we sat with Minneapolis oversight, considering the George Floyd episode and the issues that went along with that. And I think the insight for me was I realized even after George Floyd had passed away, there was a lot of things going on in that city that we did not know about. And it was very, very interesting for that. And the conference went till Thursday at noon, so it was a lot of sitting and partaking in, the different issues that you might be interested in. There were really good choices that we could go to. And I want to do a kudo on the two sessions, like the former commissioners that just spoke, talked about was Commissioner Logue and Chief Hall. And I want to really say thank you to Chief Hall. Not only did he participate in their session, he went to the whole conference that whole time, which I thought was amazing. And I'm sure he learned a lot too about it. One of the sessions I went was social media in policing, and it was so interesting. I think Miss Christina went with me, and they showed some AI pictures, and they would ask, now, do you think this one's AI, or do you think this one's real? Things that you would maybe see on a police website. You've seen some of the really good ones where the police officers might be singing a song or doing some community outreach. I was wrong on all of them. I could not tell the AI ones from the real ones. So that in itself was really interesting. The other thing is Keith Ellison, who's the Attorney General for Minnesota, spoke. And again, he told, what was his job before he was Attorney General?
State rep, or he was the congressman.
No, okay, he was the
Yeah.
congressman when the George Floyd thing went down. And again, he brought up a lot of information that I did not know about. And some of us, I think most of us, went to where George Floyd had passed away, which to me was, I'm always interested when I see something on TV or something, it's like I'm never going to be able to see that in person. So when I do get a chance to see it, it's just really, really moving for me personally. And so that piece was really, really a great piece. And I could go on and on, but I won't. So that's my takeaway from NACO. I just appreciate being able to go there. And
Yeah,
I will miss it next year because it's in Kentucky?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville. I was really appreciative that it was in Minneapolis as well. I
Yes.
felt like that added a very full character
Oh, yeah.
to the whole
Yeah.
thing. So thank you for saying that, because I forgot to mention that. But yeah, the George Floyd Memorial is a powerful place. So
Yeah. Okay, anything, Mr. Logue?
I'll just say a couple of things about the
Okay.
conference, if I can. Yeah, we're where really modern police oversight was really impacted in the last 5 years, and George Floyd Square and the cemetery right next to that is about as impactful of a thing to realize why we need to keep focused on this effort. The first day of the conference there is generally locally based. And those were some great presentations from the people in Minneapolis dealing with the aftermath of George Floyd. But something that they said, I have highlighted, and it said Derek Chauvin was comfortable while he was killing George Floyd. Whether you agree with that or you don't agree with that, his hands were in his pockets. And then they said he knew they wouldn't hold him accountable, that his actions would be found reasonable. It goes to my presentation on duty to intervene. Is the department willing to hold people accountable? And if the department's not willing to hold someone accountable, we can never expect a young officer to intervene into something because they don't know that that would be outside of the boundaries. You should never be comfortable killing somebody, ever. And that is enough to kind of fill the cup up that is empty sometimes in this job and stay focused on why it matters. Because my main focus especially at IACP and NACOL, is on the existential threat to oversight, particularly right now with some of the politics going on in our country. We're finding some states that are losing oversight completely. Florida, Florida, it's been outlawed. Which shows the importance of staying involved. And some of these things can take away from Spokane, but they're protecting Spokane at the same time. Reforms are being rolled back at the national level, at the state level, and at the local level. And we have to be aware of that. We have to stay engaged to push back against that. Look at the MOU process we're going through right now. There are restrictions on what we are allowed to do, which make sense to some folks, which don't make sense to a lot of other folks. So if we care about what oversight is, we have to be engaged. And sometimes you can't impact it at the local level. You have to impact it at the state. And if you can't impact it at the state, you have to keep pushing, which that I think is the power in that room in regards to like-minded people, in regards to people who just want a better policing system. That was the best conference I've been to. We were surrounded by that at all points, and it was just really important. So what are some of the threats to oversight? Community perceptions of your authorities, a lack of resources, unions, lobbyists, legislation that doesn't mandate authorities, community expectations, again, reform rollback, police culture, a lack of independence, city legal department, some city managers, structural challenges, legal interpretations that favor law enforcement, police relationships, limited resources again, and community expectations, community expectations, community expectations, community expectations on all sorts of matters. And we shouldn't try to manage community expectations, although it is important for people to understand what we can and cannot do. But if community expectations are at such a level, we should try to get our office to that level that meets their expectations. And I think that's my big takeaway. And what you saw from all the different offices and cities around is they're all in varying stages of that struggle of trying to be relevant, not only to their departments, but to their community as well. It was the best conference that I've been to in a long time. So I really appreciate the chance to go. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments about the NACOL? All right, we are going to move on to Commissioner Speak Out. I know we just did some speaking out. Does anybody have anything that they would like to say in this part? I kind of have something. This morning I was reading the newspaper, and you know how they have Now and Then? So this was interesting. I'm going to kind of read part of this to you because we've come a long way, baby. Now, some of you might be too young to remember that saying. Now, some of us old people do remember it. But I'm going to read. This was from 1975. Yes, I was alive. I was 20. Yeah. Some of you weren't born yet, maybe. So I'm just going to kind of read this real quick. If you haven't seen it in the paper this morning, I was just like, oh my gosh. Dozens of protesters showed up at the Spokane County Courthouse and Spokane City Hall to ask for an independent investigation into the fatal police shooting of Craig S. Jordan, 17, a Lewis and Clark High School student. The protesters said they were the friends, relatives, and classmates of Jordan, who was shot in the back after police responded to a burglary call. Very sad. One of the courthouse protesters said her nephew was brutally murdered by a racist policeman. Jordan was unarmed. The officer who fired the shot said he mistook a black glove for a pistol. And now I'll go on a little bit, and it says that Mayor Rogers said the council would take the request for an independent investigation under consideration. The mayor then rapped his gavel twice and immediately adjourned the meeting. By policy, and still today, Spokane County deputies were investigating the shooting since it involved a city police officer. A spokesman for the protesters, this is the interesting part, said the investigative body should be made up of a news reporter, a clergyman, a businessman, and an attorney. And two of them, he said, should be members of a minority group. We've come a long way from 1975. So kudos to this office.
Well, I mean, it's great that City Legal was representing somebody back then, too. I think, yeah. That's cool. I appreciate you sharing that. Like, that was way back in the day. You know?
Yeah.
That's what,
And it actually,
Wasn't that long ago, come on.
way back in the day. Some of you were still in your cribs, I know, or not.
that was, yeah.
I wanted to share that because, as mentioned earlier, as Commissioner Wetzel said, sometimes it takes a tragedy to get something done, unfortunately. And that might have been the start of something. I don't know what happened after that. It would be kind of cool to investigate what really happened.
And I was in the spokesman?
Yeah, in the spokesman today.
That's cool.
So, moving on, is there anybody else that wants to speak out? Kind of said our say on Nicole, but
Not for me, thanks.
Yeah, I don't think we could follow that.
no, I don't think we can. Okay, let's talk about our December OPOC meeting. Usually, in years past, we have not had a December meeting. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on, should we have a December meeting? I mean, we can always call a special meeting, you know, should we have something come up or if the need arrives. So we can always do that. But what are your thoughts? It would be, it says below December 16th if we were to have a meeting. But like I said, sometimes in the past, we have not had a December meeting. I can only remember one probably in the last 5 years or 4 years, because we were doing Zoom during the COVID.
Yeah, I think, I'm assuming we met all of our report.
Yes, more than.
Will we have another closing report by then?
I won't say yes at this time. We're beginning the protest review. There's going to be some substantial effort being applied to that,
Okay.
Yeah.
so
and-
likely not.
And December's just a tough month, too.
It's a tough month.
So I would make a motion that we postpone our, or I should say cancel our December meeting and re-adjourn back in January.
Okay, a second?
Second?
Okay. All those in favor of canceling our December meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay. And we don't have any abstentions, so 3-1. We will cancel our December meeting. All right. We, at this point, are going to go in executive session. The commission will now meet in executive session for discussion and possible action on the following matters. 1, to receive and evaluate complaints or charges brought against public officer or employee as authorized by RCW 42.30.110(1F), and 2, to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment or to review the performance of public employees as authorized by RCW 42.30.110(1G). So the commission will be in executive session until 7:30 p.m.
So what happens
right now is 7:31. The commission extending the executive session for a period of 20 minutes. We will be back at 7:51. Okay, the time is 7:50. The commission is extending the executive session for a period of 25 minutes. We'll be back at 8:15. Okay.
Do you run long meetings? Is that?
Okay, we are back, and I'm waiting for my notes, and then we'll proceed in just a minute or two.
Did he take your notes?
Yeah. Apologize for that.
Well, I'll take this time to thank all the people in our crowd for showing up.
Yes, thank you.
I definitely want to thank the security out there, and then you up there in the booth, Tim. Appreciate you, Tim.
Oh, and
what-
Christina.
Turn it on.
Yeah, you're one of them. And Christina.
Yes.
Yay. Christina. That you need
Yeah, I'll pick up all the folders.
while we're waiting.
So, Tim, are you the one that queues up the names of the? Yeah. What does mine come up as? I just want, yeah. Oh, look at that. All right. You got the third on there, too. Okay. It's my government name.
Why do I have two pens?
I have so many pens.
I think this is mine. I don't know, that might be Boone's.
I think I took my pen in there.
So I go back and
Did you
watch all
steal my
these.
pen?
No, this was mine, but I can
Yeah.
give it back to Christina for,
So when it says like 17 views, 16 of them are me. Yeah.
Okay. So based on the discussions that occurred during executive session, it appears the commission intends to take further action on two of our three matters. So we did a performance review on the deputy ombuds, and there is no action at this point. And then we also discussed our council contract, and we need a motion on the floor in regards to extending our council contract.
I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. A little more detail on the council contract. Do you want me to help with that?
Oh, until.
From,
From.
so we agreed to retain Boone for the year 2026. So his contract will run again from January 1st to December 31st, even though my thought is we're currently working on a reissue of the contract. Can we just start it from the reissue date to the end of 2026, please? Please? Can we do that?
We are finally towards, I think we are at the finish line.
Okay. Can we change the date to that?
I have asked.
Okay. To extend it through 2026.
I have asked to make it both retroactive and
Proactive.
prospective.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So the motion on the floor is to extend Boone's contract through 2026. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. And for our final one, I'm waiting on the wording here. Okay. Our second matter and our third matter we discussed was complaint investigation pursuant to this commission's mandate to, sorry, I'm trying to be just perfect with this. Oh, that's all I have to say? Do I need to read this? Oh, okay. Okay. So our second matter, again, is our complaint investigation, and we need to have a motion on this to proceed. I move we vote to proceed.
I move that we vote to investigate the complaint ourselves as the OPOC and just that we as the OPOC, I'm making a motion that we as the OPC, pursuant to our rules, that we have an investigation of this Essex complaint that we discussed.
Okay.
Is that,
Yes. I
yeah,
think
that
will-
sounds good? Am I covering it all?
Oh, yeah, you did.
Everything we discussed? Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
okay, so we need a second. I need somebody to second Amy's motion.
I'm not sure that's the exact wording we had discussed in executive session.
And I'll be giving some more wording after we do the
Well,
motion.
let's get the wording for the motion precise.
I withdraw my motion.
Should I read it?
Sounds like we should probably have some discussion.
And executive session. Can we discuss it? What it was? Oh, okay. So I'm getting some advice that we need to discuss what exactly it is that we had discussed in executive session, in the gist of it, before we do our vote about the investigation of the complaint.
Well, so from my understanding, well, actually, do you want to take this one?
Well, you mean as a report of what occurred in executive session? You mean, or no?
Well, a
Well, so-
factual about the complaint itself, correct?
Well, so from what I understand, we have a complaint on one of the ombuds personnel, and we as a commission are looking to do our due diligence as a commission and oversight of the ombuds office, and due to that, we would like to use our resources to look into the investigation. Am I gathering that correctly?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So could I make a motion that we utilize our legal resources to look into this ethics complaint against our personnel in the Office of Ombuds?
Okay, motion on the floor.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So unanimous decision. Pursuant to this commission's mandate to investigate complaints against the Office of the Ombuds and take action if needed, per Spokane Municipal Code 1.04B.050 AZ and Spokane Municipal Code 04.32.030Q. The commission will initiate an investigation of the ethics complaint filed by Mr. Sims. Public record.
Okay.
It all is. Okay, any other business for tonight? I just appreciate everybody staying in there, and if no other business, I am going to officially end this meeting. We will convene back in January, not back, but in January. It's 8:28. Thank you.
Let's never have a 3-hour meeting again.